Welcome to Black Voices. My name is Talia Cotton, and I will be your host today. And today I am proud and happy and delighted to have my principal of James S. Rickards High School, Mr. Douglas Cook. And so to get started, Mr. Cook, for the viewers who may never have heard of you, who is Douglas Cook?
Douglas Cook is a gentleman now that is from a city called Avon Park. My grandmother played a big part in my life. She was very religious in reference to making sure that we went to church, we studied the Bible. So I was very close to my grandmother as I was growing up. Growing up in Avon Park, it was a segregated community. For example, the white people lived in one area and the black people lived in another area. And so we had our own businesses. We went to school together, but we had our own housing and we had all of those various things. I had a great time growing up in Avon Park. Really didn't have any racial tension or anything of that nature, but it was fun growing up. So Douglas Cook is a person from a rural community, a farming community that learned the value of education and how to improve himself moving through the school system.
Thank you so much. And so what made you select education as your career?
Well, I really didn't select education. I thought I was going into industrial education back in the previous years. It was a degree in construction where you were basically a person who could do quite a few things. For example, automotive, plumbing, roofing, electrical, framing, all of the things that deal with construction. But there was a component when I entered Florida A&M University that the major went from what I consider a blue collar job, and it was an educational component, which is called industrial education, which is what they call the old shop teacher. And so that's how I got into education, because I was able to teach and show kids how to be creative and build various things.
And what I find interesting is my grandfather was a shop teacher
Awesome.
down in Greenville. And so once he finished with the Air Force, that's how he got into education. And if you walk into my classroom, I actually have his teaching certificate framed there because I come from a long line of teachers. So I definitely understand that path and that journey. Why is education important to the Black community, in your opinion?
Well, education is extremely important because it allows individuals to better themselves. It's not about getting rich, but it gives you opportunities. Education is about opportunities. For many years, African Americans did not have the opportunity to a quality education, which limited their ability to go out and seek the various occupations. For example, become a lawyer, become a doctor, become an engineer, become a teacher. So education to the community, it affords an individual, no matter what your economic situation is, it affords you an opportunity to do other things and to better yourself. It's not about money, it's not about getting rich, but it is about opening your mind so you can do various things. And that's what education should be, and I think is in the African American community, a inspiration of hope to better your future and to continue to improve and do the various things and reach your dreams.
In your opinion, why is the study of Black history important to Black culture and America as a whole?
The various things that the African American brought to the community as a whole, or to our country as a whole. You also have to think about the Hispanics, the Native Americans. They all bring certain substance to America, but you don't always see that in the history books. So by studying Black history and by emphasizing Black History Month, it allows students to engage in the past, present, and the future things that are going to assist them in understanding, who am I? Where did I come from? What did my ancestors produce? What did they bring to the big melting pot, which we call America? So when I think about that, African American history, you must know your history. You must know where you've come from, because it's no different than knowing, well, where was your grandfather born? Okay, what occupation? Did he come from Canada? Did he come from New Mexico? It's just learning about your history and just learning about the various things to give you empowerment and to feel good about what your ancestors have accomplished in America.
During the month of February, teachers all over the country will be teaching and studying Black history in some way, shape, or fashion. What was an inspiring piece of Black history that you learned in school? Think about a lesson or a person, a topic or event that appealed to you.
History is my favorite subject. And so as early as I can remember, going and seeing the films You Are There, which was something that was I guess, was I want to say it was something, it was movies that were by CBS, and you got a chance to, they say You Are There, and they would take you back to when Harriet Tubman was leading the slaves to freedom and the Underground Railroad. That's one aspect. In high school, studying and having to recite the Gettysburg Address, and you study the Civil War, and you study the Emancipation, you study the 15th Amendment, you study the various things that when the African Americans came out of slavery, that was something that was really important. And some of the things, when you think back to the history of our country, those are two things that I can highlight. I'm sure there are many additional items, but those are two. And then just reading autobiographies of the great Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, who formerly known as Lou Alcindor, that was great as well, reading the transformation of African Americans and some of the things that they believe in and how they progress in society.
And so when you hear the term Black voices, what does that mean to you?
It means educated. It also means open-minded. It also means love. It also means understanding others. And it also means being compassionate about the world that you live in.
Do you think that Black voices are suppressed in America? Why or why not?
What I think is that many times young people, old people, sometimes they just don't know where they fit in and how they can use their voice to transpire and to change things. I think that as you witness the Black Lives Matter movement this past year, you've seen the young people start to find their voice through nonviolence, through speaking out about social injustice, economic situations, and they are finding their voice. Another example, people around my age, they are realizing that we still have a voice, that we still have to nurture the youth and show them and challenge them to move forward and to be nonviolent and to go out and to tell the truth and to share the truth with all, because I think that is going to be the most creative way to use the Black voice.
And so, how can Black voices be amplified?
In order to change the world, you have to be involved in the world. You have to vote. You have to go to various meetings, school board meetings, city meetings, and you have to be a part. And you have to also be in tune to current events. Yes, the news sometimes we think is boring and we think that it's depressing, but you must know what's going on in the world. It is not all about the little area of Tallahassee you live in. The world is a large place. And in order to know what's going on in Afghanistan, what's going on with the in South America, what's going on in Canada with other African Americans, or you have soldiers in Afghanistan that are African American. What is going on? You really need to look at your surroundings, and you really need to understand what is going on, and you need to be a part of that. Get involved.
I wholeheartedly agree. My mother used to say, Talia, you need to know a little bit about everything. And I still carry that with me. I try to know a little bit about everything. And lastly, how do you use your Black voice?
I think I use my voice by advocating for the students at James S. Rickards High School every day. I'm very appreciative of our school board member, Superintendent Hannah, and the $70 million that they have invested in James S. Rickards High School, because our facilities are much improved. The things that are going on in our Southside community that, Mr. Darrell Jones, our school board member, fighting for, our mayor, Mr. John Daly, and the infrastructure of our Southside community. My voice, in my opinion, is about trying to make sure that the students on the south side of Tallahassee, that they have great facilities, they receive an excellent education, and that I continue to look for jobs and infrastructure that comes to their neighborhood that they can benefit by wanting to stay in Tallahassee. So that's what I have tried to bring with my voice, as well as with what I'm trying to accomplish for the African American students and the African American community in the south side of Tallahassee. Well, yes, we are currently, by the time we get to December this year, our newly um, designed courtyard for the students to have lunch, that it will have an area so students could sit. It is going to have some areas where they can plug in their iPhones and charge them, and just have a nice area for the students to have an open campus. So that is part of the renovation that's going on. That is phase 3. We're also having restrooms for those students, as well as the faculty, new elevator for the 1900 building, which is our science wing that we are still working on. And then we're going to have a nice walkway coming from the new 42 room, or the 2 buildings, building 23 and 24. So those are some of the renovations that are going on, having our baseball fields back on campus, having everything to be a whole school, just like the other high schools, is tremendous. And I have to give the superintendent, the school board members, for their vision, and the community as a whole, to make sure that our school on the south side of Tallahassee remains at 3013 Jim Lee Road.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Mr. Cook. And thank you all for joining us today on Black Voices. Tune in next time for our next interview, and have a wonderful day.
Thank you.